G'day, gang. I want to yet again talk about another very controversial and complicated issue, and it's an issue that keeps coming up over and over and over again, and I think it's one of the bigger ones right now. I want to talk about diversity in entertainment. Um, so for me, I have a very story focused view, coming at it from the perspective of being a writer. I think for me, the thing that matters most is that everybody makes sense. That's it. I don't care if you have a giraffe person in your book because you have a bunch of those giraffe people. Great. As long as it makes sense, I'm all about it. But if you have, you're trying to tell a story about a city where it's the last bastion of humanity and a bunch of people have all come together from different cities, different places, and it's one type of person, it's one race of person, or it's only one gender. I'm gonna have a problem with that story. But I think that's when it comes down to, for me, it's about commitment to the narrative and it's about commitment to the setting, and that's what matters most. Just as if you had um, picked a slice of history that was particularly tribalistic, and you had very diverse characters there, it would feel off-putting and weird and unhistoric, especially if you're trying to tell a historic story. So for me, that is the basis of it. I do like stories that have people from all walks of life, typically, because it has more leniency towards conflict, and conflict is the basis of all story. So having more conflict equals the potential for more story, if it's well written, obviously. You can have a lot of established conflict and not do anything with it. Just as you can have a lot of great characters who never actually do anything in the story because you're not writing for motivation. That is an entirely different tangent. And that one I could talk on for hours. But ultimately, I think a setting should be reflective of its intent and of the narrative itself, and make sense and fit together neatly. And I think that is the thing that matters most. As I said, really enjoy stories with characters who are very different, who are pushed together. And I don't care on what grounds that is, be that nationality, race, culture, gender, I don't care. But just put characters together who don't fit together and then make them fight. That's perfect for me. That's what I do in my political fantasy book as well. Um, each of the characters come from, a lot of the main characters come from different colonies, and I put them together, different ant colonies. They're ants. If you haven't seen my other videos, they're anthropomorphized ants, because that's fun. And yeah, I put them together and have the conflict just naturally be there. The clash of culture, the miscommunications, misunderstandings, and just the friction that's naturally there between people of different origins. And then some of the characters will work it out. Some of the characters will think, wow, that's a better way of doing things. But a lot of them will end up going, yeah, I hate you guys more now, which is great because that means lots of conflict. Perfect. And I think I think that's the way that we should be looking at diversity. We should be looking at it as a way to explain one person's culture to another, or to have the ideals against that culture cemented, because that's the way that humans interact, and art should always imitate life. That is the thing that makes it so significant. The fact that it resonates with people and it stays with us, and we think about it after we turn off the TV, the computer, or close the book. If we're still thinking about it afterwards because it hits us hard, because it's personal, because it resonates, then you're doing something correctly, I think. And I think I think that should be our objective. So I think that this whole perspective of trying not to make people uncomfortable because of complicated racial dynamics, I think we're cheating ourselves out of understanding and we're cheating ourselves out of just the minutiae and the complexity of everything that is life, all of the grey parts of life. If we're consistently just dealing with the black and the white, that's a really sad way to live, in my opinion. I think that the grey parts of life are often the most rewarding and complicated, and that's the part in which that, if we really think about it, and we really invest in it, then it's definitely the most rewarding in terms of outcome. And I think that's the parts that stay with us and change us. So diverse settings are absolutely fantastic if it's appropriate to the story. I myself really like writing characters who are very different and forced together. I've recently written my favourite series ever, yet to be published, really fun horror trilogy about characters who are consistently pushed together. Sorry, my throat is killing me. And characters consistently pushed together. I think it's the most fun I've ever had in writing, just because these made-up fantasy locations have different ideologies and expectations, just as the book I'm writing right now has very similar complete disconnections and isolated cultures who are joined together. It's been a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, had to mute to cough, sorry. But I think diversity shouldn't scare us. And I think that same as not having diversity shouldn't scare us. I think we should just look at art as art. And I don't think that we should pick apart these things unless they're done poorly. I think that's the point in which that we should start to complain. And I think we're justified in complaining if there's a character who's just standing there who makes no sense to be there. It's just, please don't do that. Like, give them a reason to be there, and if they make no sense to be there, then make every other character say, why are you here? Just make the narrative make sense, make them fit in the setting. It's something that I'm constantly saying now. Oh my gosh. It's something that I'm constantly saying to say, don't make this character a sticker. Don't just stick them on and expect that the world will, like, be just completely disconnected from them and their setting. Put them in the setting. Put their feet on the ground. Put the wind in their hair. Make them part of your story, and make the story hostile to them if appropriate, and make them hostile to the story if appropriate. And just write with integrated dynamics. I think that's the most important thing when it comes to having a cohesive story, is make the pieces make sense together, instead of like using stickers and just colouring over things or recoloring things or doing really weird and awkward things like that. Just become a watchmaker, you know? Put the little cogs together and turn one cog, and if no other cogs turn, don't use that cog. It makes no sense. If it doesn't interact with anything else, remove it. Simple as that. I think, diversity can be so much fun. For me, particularly diversity of gender, I find a lot of times that there's characters that there's settings that don't have characters you just have all guys or all girls. Putting the opposite gender in there sometimes can be really beneficial to provide different sorts of perspectives, and again, have them always be like, why are you in the book club, to the guy, or have the girl questioned, why are you in the military? Because I hate to break it to anyone who doesn't believe that's the case, but as someone who's been in the military, people do ask you as a woman, why are you in the military? Why are you here? So have that be part of the setting, and have that character consistently have to define why they're there, but not just through their words, but through their actions, and make that character have that conflict. Again, so much story just from that one little prompt. One prompt. Put someone who shouldn't be there and make them explain why they're supposed to be there. That's an awesome writing prompt. You can write entire series just on that one premise. But again, make it cohesive. Make these parts interject, make these parts move together. Make these parts angry or hostile or tense, or make them tender and make these parts like sympathetic. Make there be moments where someone says, I don't know why you're here, but I'm glad that you are. Make those moments juxtaposed against the conflict, which makes it so much more wholesome and deep. I think that is the best part of what we can do with diversity in entertainment. And I think we're cheating ourselves if we do anything other than making these parts work together. Honestly, I think that's as simple as it gets. And I want to see more works with like parts that don't fit together, that somehow make it work, but everybody else keeps questioning it. That is brilliant. That's so much fun. And again, art imitates life. And we as people often are in positions that we probably should question sometimes. And that's great. Just like, I spend most of my life in spaces that don't seem to want me there. But I'm there anyway. It's great. And it ends up working out fantastic for everyone in my case. So I'm very fortunate, but most of the time. But have that make sense. Diversity is a good thing. Doesn't have to be a bad thing. Just make it make sense.